Hello, everyone, and welcome to Passion and Purpose. Today, I wanted to start with a note of gratitude to all of you who tune in and watch this interview. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart because without you all watching, there wouldn't be a show called Passion and Purpose. Thank you again. And today, my fabulous guest on Passion and Purpose is the founder of Edu Learn Grow, a company which strives to create an impact in transforming early education by providing authentic and unique curriculums, teacher development programs, school setups, and franchising solutions. She is also the co-founder of the ABCD show, a show which was conceptualized during the pandemic, where everything concerned with children is addressed through eminent experts whose opinion matters. And I'm truly grateful to her to have invited me on the show as a parent expert. She is also the territory head Mumbai at Early Childhood Association of India. A large part of her 20 years as an educationist has gone into researching best practices that focus on the development of the whole child as an inquirer, both in the classroom and the world outside. And she has won numerous awards for her contribution in this domain. Whenever I speak to her, I'm always amazed at her excitement and the passion with which she speaks about creating learning environments which are engaging, meaningful, and fun for children. And that's a side of her not many people know. And that's why she is on my show today, Passion and Purpose. Please help me welcome Amrita Rajpal. What I have told you is very, very little about who she is. I want to hear from her own words, her journey to how she discovered her passion and purpose. Welcome, Amrita Rajpal.
Hi, Kavita. Thank you so much for this warm welcome and thank you for the lovely introduction. You know, we know each other so many years. We have a lot of secrets that we share. Thank you so much for restraining yourself over here on this platform and not embarrassing me.
Absolutely.
You know, just like what childhood friends and buddies do. And I'm super excited to be here on Passion and Purpose.
Hey, thank you, Amrita. I mean, we've been wanting to do this for the longest time, and somehow you got me on your show before I got you on my show. But truly, I'm just so super excited. I wish the whole class was here listening to us. Amrita and I are from the same school and college. She'll tell you a little more about it. Like I said in my introduction, Amrita, there's lots more about you that I haven't mentioned. It's on purpose because I want to listen through your words, through your stories, what led you to who you are today.
What I'm passionate about, because that is what your show is all about. And I'm sure over the course of the show, we will get around to my whole journey. So when I'm looking at passion, passion is a really very, very strong word. It represents intensity, it represents depth, interest, enthusiasm, and most importantly, it represents thirst. So if you talk about passion, you can get lost in it. And I was not like that at all. When I started, I was a coordinator in a school. There were 200 children there. I handled the whole school. I was in charge of administration, handling 30 teachers, 200 parents, organizing events. You know, my job was not passionate. It was a job. It was something I liked to do, but certainly not passionate. And how did I get passionate about this whole thing and what I do? So I'd done this for around 4 or 5 years. And one day a teacher brought it to my attention that there was this child in her class. And this child sometimes paid a lot of attention. Sometimes this child never really bothered listening. And she said, this is not natural. And, we must talk to the parents. And I said, really? Children are so moody. What does it really matter? He's not troubling you in class, right? And she was persistent. And then we called for a meeting with the parents and we spoke to them and we said that, sometimes he's listening, sometimes he's not listening. And we just want you to, observe him at home and see if there's something that you are noticing. And the parents said, yes, I noticed the same thing. And maybe I think I should take him to a specialist. Now, what happened was when the parent took that child to a specialist, they got to know that the child has had a ear impairment. And that child got treated for that ear impairment. He could hear about 50% at that time. And when he had that hearing aid and he came to school, that child came alive in class. Everything changed for that child. And I think everything changed for me. That one incident had such a great impact on my life. I just realized that my actions had such a humongous impact. I got cognizant of the responsibility that I had. I was responsible in shaping the future citizens of the world. I also got that teaching is a contribution to society. It doesn't involve just teaching children. It involves building hearts, minds, bodies of children. I found myself getting naturally curious about child development, about all these behavioral aspects of children. What, earlier just seemed to be a way of passing my time, now just turned into my passion. What children do when they come to class? They pay attention, they observe, they wonder, they discover. I think my life became just like that of a child. I started paying attention. I started observing children. I started wondering why they're doing what they're doing. I started discovering a whole new world opened up for me. And, every new learning made me dive deeper. And I was just, what do I say, for the right word? I was engulfed with the wonder of this impact. There was another turning point for me. There was a parent and she had adopted a child. And she was so unaware when she adopted the child that, this child had a learning disability. In layman's terms, we would possibly say that the child was slow. When she got to know about this, she broke down. And because we encouraged inclusivity in school, the child was in our school. And I became so aware about the different needs of every child, how every child was so unique, and how teaching had to be altered for every child. It's not about just teaching. It's about teaching someone, teaching something. So it was wonderful. It's something that just turned my life around.
Wow, listening to you, I'm getting goosebumps because, like I said, there's so much to a person's personality that, we never know till we start having these meaningful conversations. We're going to get more in depth into this, but before that, I wanted all of you to know that, Amrita's maiden name is Amrita Mangaram. Many of you, especially in, I guess, my age group, would know Mangaram biscuits. All our houses had Mangaram biscuits, Mangaram wafers, and she comes from that family. I remember we went to Sapphire's in Bangalore, Sapphire High School, and every year our field trip was to the Mangaram factory, and we would be so excited. I mean, every class in school, I think your father encouraged us to go and visit the factory. So Amrita, for all of us, you came from such a very elite, iconic family. And I remember, at 19, when you got married, I think you had not even finished your first PUC, and you told us you're getting married. And you also told us that in your community, girls were not allowed to work after marriage. I don't think they were even allowed to finish their education. Um, Now I see this as a problem even these days, right? There are many communities which don't allow the girls to go to work after they get married or even complete their education. How did you in those days break those barriers to be who you are today? I mean, I'm sure it was not easy. So I want you to tell us the story because it could inspire somebody listening to break those same barriers.
True. I got married at 19. I also had a child when I was 21. And I was married in a very conservative, modern family. Now, when I'm saying conservative and modern together, it sounds very strange, but there's a dichotomy in many Indian families. On one hand, no, everyone is quite happening around the world. They're totally up to date with various cuisines. They're socializing. They're giving their opinion. Uh, it's just like a woman is everywhere. And on the other hand, in a conservative modern family like many others, like the one I was married into, women could not go to work. They could not study further. And their life had to revolve around their husbands and families. So here they're doing all these things where they have a mind and they can talk, but they can't use it to engage in anything productive. They can't go out and earn money. They can't get a job, and their life has to revolve like this. Here I was 10 years into a marriage like that. I was at home with a little child who was in second standard. But luckily for me, in my joint family, my brother-in-law was of marriageable age. And because he was of marriageable age, my family said that it seemed okay to, do something whereby, it showed that we were a little more modern than what we were. Wow. And so I was given permission to work. But there was, of course, it came with a lot of strings attached. And those strings were that you can't go out. You have to go to a very safe, secure place. You can't stay out for longer hours. You had to be back when your son came home from school. So there were a lot of strings. So it was that kind of situation. But I also got very lucky. A friend of mine was working in a preschool and she told me that she was having a lot of fun over there. She was meeting a lot of people and it was nice. And I thought that was a nice thing to start into. And also, as you said, 19, no education.
Yeah.
So I didn't have too much choice. Let me put it that way.
So that's how your passion to be in a preschool where the seed was planted at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Amrita, like you said, no educational background. Today you have set up about 200 schools, I think. How? I mean, how is it possible? Because, I mean, I read your bio, I see a lot of certificates and you've done post-graduation. When and how did you manage that? Because I'm not aware of it. So I really want to know when all this happened.
Right. Absolutely. 19 and marriage happened and first PUC. And I don't even think I didn't do anything much after that. But the way I got a job was very interesting. So as I told you, my friend told me about this whole thing and she told me that, you can come and try as a preschool teacher. And I also thought, chalo, if I don't have so much qualification, it's all right. What do you need to teach a preschool child? My child was in second standard. And I had that kind of experience. And I said, ABC and 1 to 3 is not rocket science for me. I think I'll do pretty well. So I went over there and I was not trained for too much, as I said. And I remember my interview was at 2 o'clock. So when I went over there at 2:45, 3 o'clock, my son used to come home from school. I'd arranged for someone to take care of him. So I sat over there and this lady who was supposed to take my interview, she kept on talking to someone else. And I was waiting outside. There was this office and it had an open door and there was a long bench. And I thought it was too rude to come and sit right in front of someone. So I was sitting on the edge of that bench over there. And she kept on talking. And here I am looking at the time and looking at my watch and getting very anxious because I needed to go home. I said, imagine if I say I've gone for an interview and I don't reach back on time. What's going to happen when I go for a job and, they possibly may not allow me at home. So even though I made arrangements, I wanted to get back. So I started slowly inching towards, the door, that maybe she'd just see that someone is over there and finish what she was doing fast. But There was no sign of that. So I just decided to be rude. I went and sat on that bench straight in front. Now she is there and there was another person there and I'm there. And I was hearing this conversation. And this conversation was a parent, an irate parent. And she was very, very upset that her child had fallen in school and the teacher had not been vigilant or not been watchful. And this back and forth was going on for a long time, as I told you. And this owner of the school was defending herself. She was pleading. She was giving explanations. And I was looking at my watch saying, my God, she better get over with this because I'll never get the job otherwise. And I just went over there and interrupted. And I sat with that parent and I told her, I'm a parent too. And I've been hearing your conversation. And I understand what you're feeling. And your child has fallen down. And it's not a joke to have your child fall down in a school and he's only 4 years old. But I told her there are 25 children in a class. Can you imagine, a teacher is here, there's another teacher here, and, your child is a little further away. Now, the boss over there thought I had come, I was another parent wanting admission for my child. And she thanked me profusely and then wanted to, of course, tell me about the school. And I told her, no, I've come for an interview. And she said, but are you qualified for a teacher, to be a teacher? And I said, oh my God, she also knows it's written all over my face that I haven't even graduated, And she said, no, I don't think you're qualified to be a preschool teacher. I think you're qualified to be the preschool coordinator. You can talk to people. So that's how I got my job. So that's how, with no qualification, you get a job, I guess. But soon after that, I told you about those 2 instances and how I started doing my ECC after that incident, which I mentioned. 9 years, I was a school coordinator. Then I went on to the head office. I was in charge of setting up preschools. I saw people who started schools were not from the education sector. They had no clue of how a child developed in the early years. I didn't know too much either. So I started exploring courses, but all courses want you to be a graduate. So I had to restart education. And now I needed 3 years to complete my graduation. I was also progressing in my career. I became head of operations. I set up about 70 schools for my company. And I was really passionate about what I was doing. I wanted to make that difference. There was one thing I knew. 90% of the brain is developed by the time a child is 5 years old. That makes it imperative for the child to receive quality engagements, experiences, and these are going to lay the building blocks for the next phase in learning. Another thing is, the structure of a car that is simpler than the structure of a baby's finger, and a 1 megabyte computer is less intelligent than that of one of that baby's million brain cells.
Wow.
And a simple activity, Kavita, like opening a jar, that just turning and twisting it, it develops bilateral integration that helps in writing because your child is using both hands to do 2 different tasks. So when you write, you hold the paper with one hand and you use one hand to write. Over here, you're holding the jar with one hand and you're using one hand to twist. So your body is getting those messages of how you can use your hands for 2 different tasks. Why you do an activity is so exciting. So I really had this thirst. And studying with a job, a house to look after, a child, it was not an easy task. But I used to get up, I used to study in the train, going to and fro from work, because that was the time I got. I would study when I was at the doctor's. I would study when I was waiting in a queue. I would revise things. I would make notes in little chits and put it in my bag. So if I got a few minutes, I would look at it. And graduation happened that way. And a lot of certificate courses also happened that way. And these certificate courses are also very intense. So I remember after one such course, I actually landed up in hospital because of all this strain. But I was so determined, I wanted to provide the finest quality content and the best professional development to all educators, such that every child has a superlative learning experience and becomes a lifelong learner. And I think that's That's the thing that really drives me. That's something which pushes me.
And how old were you when you did all this, madam?
Okay, so now people also will know how old I am. All right, but I finished my graduation when I was 40 years old, just by the way. And I finished my post-graduation, which was 4 years in specializing in early childhood education from New Zealand Tertiary College 2 years back. So I've been studying forever. But you know, my context for studying, my context for doing everything I do is so very clear. I know what I want to do, and I know the difference I can make. So
I just want to say, you graduated at post-graduation at 40.
no,
I-
graduation at 40.
Graduation at
Post
40.
graduation after.
After. So everybody will know that Amrita and I are the same age. And this is definitely a story that if you have a will, the universe opens up all the doors and you did it. I mean, just imagine having a child, a family to take care of, studying in the train, and we can imagine the trains in Mumbai, right? Full, and you're standing there with a book. I don't know how you did it. Those are the years that I lost touch with you, Amrita. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you. Listening to the story, it's just so heartwarming. So thank you for sharing that part. And I hope some women listening, or even men who think that they can't do it, they're way past their prime, will understand that there is nothing called age as a limit. So I wanted to
You know,
ask.
my children could never tell me that they didn't want to study, or they were too tired. They had no excuse. So I guess it works. It works for the better all the time.
Yeah, you can always throw this back at their face and say, I did it at 40. What are you saying? So yeah, damn good.
There are some nice moments actually when I was doing my postgrad, maybe even 2 years back. At 4 in the morning, I was sitting on the floor and cramming, because when you're doing a postgrad, you don't have to, they're not question answers. You're writing dissertations, and there's a lot of thought into it. And you have 5 or 10 days to give in your papers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was weeping that, I have got still so many more articles to read, maybe hundreds of pages more, and whatever, and how will I finish it? And I'm actually crying, and my son comes up to me and says, Maggie, let's make something and make us feel better. Now you know how I feel also, and I know how you feel. So it was great bonding time. But
what a beautiful journey. So this brings me to a question that I'm very passionate about, Amrita. Recently, Forbes started a new initiative called 50 over 50, a women's list, which proves that, success has no age limit. We always thought that it's the first half of our life where, we have to do the maximum. And this idea rejects that notion that the most dynamic part of our life is the first half. It is for some of us. I think you and I, 40s has been kind of a magical time for us. We've discovered our own strength, our potential, and we're trying to make a difference in whatever we do. So I want to understand from your point of view, what is your take on this 50 over 50 list that people are coming up with? Do you encourage that?
Kavita, you and I are late bloomers.
Yes.
I love being over 50. There are so many conversations I hear about age. There's an age to study, there's an age to rest, there's an age to retire. I think I've proved it all wrong. I finished my graduation at 40, as I told you. I'm having the most fun right now. I've never had so much fun in my life. 10 or 12 years back, my husband and I had this conversation, and we were talking about where our life was going. And, I told him, maybe after 10 years, we should start traveling, because I've really not traveled at all. My husband is a financial advisor. He's a life coach. And more importantly, he's highly sensible. So he said, why do we have to wait for 10, 12 years? Let's start now. Since then, we travel every month. It could be a short trip or a long trip. It could be in the country or it could be outside the country, but it is there. We also took up health very seriously. So I did a course in sports nutrition. I'm a qualified sports nutritionist. I have a little tribe of friends. And we have a group called Happy Healthy Living, and we exercise every day. Now, everyone takes turns to lead the class, and each one tries to make it more fun than the previous class. So we are all totally passionate. We're always learning something new. Face yoga is the latest. So also, when I was 50, my husband gifted me a professional photo shoot for my birthday. I am recommending this to everyone. It will make you fall in love with yourself. So I think the best thing about being 50 is about being mature enough to choose which battles you want to fight, what things you want to give significance to, what you want to give up in life. I think it's just made me complete as a person.
Beautiful, beautifully put. So you've taken up education, health, traveling. I know your one foot is always in some other part of the world, or even in India. I think you explore, and I know that we are all envious of that the amount you travel. If we could just follow you everywhere you go, then we will also see half the world, I think so. And I'm sure.
No, and I'm learning music.
Oh my God.
And I love my exercise, my dance, everything. I think I just love my life. And I think more you love your life, the more nice things come into it. Because you're not focused on things that you shouldn't really focus on. So it's not that I don't have bad things in my life, but I don't give it significance because it's not worth it, and then it just disappears.
Absolutely. I understand what you're feeling. That thirst you were talking in the beginning, I think if we didn't have it in our 20s or 30s, we have it now. And I think we should, I think we are role models for others to look at us and say, hey, life begins at 40, it begins again at 50, and who knows what's going to happen at 60. I hear this all the time from people. You're 50 and you're still thinking what else to do in life, and I'm thinking, I'm not dead, I'm alive. Why shouldn't I think about what else I want to do in life? So I'm
true.
Yeah,
I think just celebrate life.
Yeah. So I'm so excited. I hope all of school and college friends watch this and just look at Kavita and Amrita in a different light, because really I think in school we were the quieter ones and nobody would have predicted this for either of us at our age. What do you think?
I'm totally with you. And I think I just love life right now, Kavita, and I meet people who love life. So I think it's just what you are is what you attract.
Yeah,
just
life
look at
attracts
what
life.
you are and change that, and you will attract everything else that you want in your life. And you have a small problem, look at the bigger problem. India has so many states with so much. What is the education percentage over here? Can't we do something to make it better? I think that's a really big problem for me to have. So I think I would rather focus on that rather than this, that, and
the small issues that don't really add up to anything at the end.
Absolutely not important.
I think all these women who are on these 50 over 50 list, we can make our own list, are not just working towards advancing their careers, making more money. I think we are women who are using our platforms to make life better for future generations. And I think that's where the difference comes. And I encourage more women to take up a cause, take up something that, they can do to make life better, not just for themselves, but for others also. I think that should be the way we think.
Absolutely. Find a bigger problem.
Yes.
Than yourself.
Yeah. Amrita, I have one last question for you. One last piece of advice, wisdom that you have gained that you want to share with the audience, in connection with passion or purpose, or just living a more fulfilling life.
I have only one thing to say. You have a big life. Just live it. Queen size, king size, whatever you need. Just live it the way it should be lived. We have one life. Just make the most use of it.
Yes.
So I think that's my fundamental in life, and make a difference in other people's lives.
Absolutely. I think that should be the underlying goal or for all of us. So Amrita, thank you so much. So nice of you to share your story with all of us. And I'm sure that this story of yours is going to inspire so many people to look at life with a different filter. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed myself. It was so nice reminiscing about my journey. And if that is going to make a difference to anyone else, I think it's superb. It's really nice. My purpose has been served. And thank you so much for calling me on Passion and Purpose, Kavita. It was a wonderful experience.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for watching. Like Amrita shared through her stories, we've learned that there is no deadline for success or fulfillment. And there is no one path. Everyone needs to follow, discover your own potential and follow it. Harness your own potential. And believe me, growing older is about getting wiser and bolder, not quieter. Don't hide under a rock. Show who you are. Through my interviews, I want to share the stories of people which resonate, which inform, and inspire you to live a better life. These stories are important reminders that while we can't control every circumstance, we can control our actions. Failures can make for beautiful opportunities, and experience can fuel a more vibrant, more passionate career or a life a life that you could have never have imagined. So live that life now. Now is the time. My dear friends, thank you for watching this interview and look out for the next inspirational story coming next. Thank you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kavithagarla.